a bit of a measure of how far our culture has moved from first century Palestinian culture, when you think about the fact that in first century Palestine, when Caesar Augustus had an edict that sent people scurrying back to the towns and cities and provinces where they were born, it created major disruption. All these people in upheaval travelling across the land back to their hometowns, whether they had a home there or not, as was the case with Mary and Joseph. They had no home there, but they had to go anyway. And this was a major upheaval, and the whole economy would have been disrupted, I imagine. Opportunistic people would have done quite well, others would have had their whole business model disrupted, just chaos. Today, however, it's the edict that says you can't travel that really disrupts us. We love our travel, we move around freely, the whole condition of life has changed so dramatically, and that's just to say that there's quite a bit of cultural distance between the story that we are told about Mary and Joseph and their child Jesus and the world that we live in today. But some things are consistent, and one of those things is that people still like to arrange their world in a manner they believe is most amenable to themselves, which is basically what Caesar Augustus was doing. He wanted to move all the people into places so that he could register them, probably make some money out of it, exercise his control, feel good about being the emperor. Who knows what all that was going on there. And he didn't really care the impact it had on the least powerful, the most vulnerable. That was on them, you know. And you still see a lot of that today, whether we're talking about political classes or wealthier people, or not all wealthy people, of course. But that kind of mode of being where we prefer to organise the world around us into the way that suits us best. And in the midst of the chaos of all of that comes God as a child. Now think about this for a moment. God comes as a child, the most vulnerable member of the human community, utterly dependent, not able to throw weight around, probably not even able to roll over initially. This is how vulnerably God comes into our midst. And not only so, but God comes in a way that is not unknown to any of us. God comes in the birth of a child. There isn't a family on earth that doesn't know that experience. That's how we become families. And not only this very, in a sense, holy yet mundane moment of the birth of a child, but into a family where it seems likely that Joseph wasn't around for all of his boys growing up. And so you've got a single mum family, which again, very vulnerable, very common back then, very common now. So in the midst of these very common, mundane, vulnerable things, in a broader context of major disruption, as the most powerful person in the world is trying to organise everything for his own satisfaction, convenience, pleasure, we get the birth of the Christ child. And there's something that just escapes defining here. That God should come to us in this beautiful, vulnerable way. I spend a lot of time at uni, and I see how clever people can be and the things that we can invent and the ways we come to understand stuff. But never has anyone come up with anything better than the self-giving love of God, expressed in the birth of a vulnerable child in a normal family in the middle of ancient Near Eastern Palestine. As you go into your Christmas season, try and see past the stereotypical Christmas card images, the snowmen and the Christmas trees. We love that stuff and enjoy it. But take a moment to look past a God who reaches out in the most vulnerable way to let you know but you are loved. That's a good thing. Merry Christmas.